Hi everyone, Sean McDonough here. This is demo number 1 where we meet the demo website and we talk about how you can identify if a particular web part is actually derived from or an instance of the content search web part that gets packaged with SharePoint. So right now what we're doing is looking at my demo site called SharePoint's new Swiss Army knife. You'll notice over on the left hand side we've got a set of demos, and these are the demos that I'm going to be going through in this series. And then over on the right, we have an image rotator showing us a variety of different Swiss Army knife pictures. This whole page itself is constructed solely from content search web parts. So if I come into the settings and I edit the page, scroll down, over here on the left, I'll open up this demos web part. And let's go ahead and expand the tool part over here. This is what the inside of a content search web part looks like from an editing surface perspective. So when we've got the search web part open, content search web part open, we have the ability to change the query, adjust the number of items that are going to be displayed. We also have control over the display templates, which drive the rendering of the content that's served up. And I will be going through display templates a bit more in a later demo, but we have a control template and an item template. The control template covers the overall container, which is the content search web part instance on the page. And right now it's set to list. And then for items, each item that gets served up, we show a picture on the left with up to 3 lines of text on the right. And if we scroll down, you can see here's the picture on the left and 2 lines of text on the right. We don't have 3 because I'm only choosing to show 2. But you know, this is a content search web part on the left, and on the right we have another content search web part. It's simply using different display templates. So if we edit that content search web part, we can see that we're looking at the control template as a slideshow. So the overall template itself that drives the container, or that represents the container, is a slideshow, which means it has some jQuery and JavaScript integrated behind it to go ahead and rotate those images like we were seeing happen with each of the Swiss Army knives. And then for each item that's shown, we're basically using a large picture. And I have a picture library that contains each of the images that we're seeing rotate through. So the content search web part itself is really versatile in what it can display out of the box. The templates themselves that come with SharePoint are pretty bare bones. But as I discussed in my session, we have a number of pre-configured content search web parts that we can choose from if we don't want to get in and tinker with all of the properties. So if I come over up to the toolbar and click Insert, and I select a web part, let me go ahead and scroll down. If we go to the Search-Driven Content tab, or a Search-Driven Content option in Categories, you'll notice all of these items. And I was talking about SharePoint has included with it a bunch of different pre-configured instances of the content search web part. And that's what we're looking at right here. So there's a pre-configured instance for pictures, one for videos, one for wiki pages. All of the basically the query that's associated with pulling those items back, and the any templates that's needed to render those are referenced by each of these web part definition files. You don't have to necessarily believe me for that. I mean, what I want to do is go in and actually show you. Let's take this page out of, let's discard our checkout. And let's go to the web part gallery and actually drill into one of these. So I'm going to come over here under Web Designer Galleries, Web Parts, and you'll notice all of these CBS underscore prefixed web part definitions. CBS is content by search, and you know that nomenclature, that tag at the beginning of CBS underscore, is what allows you to easily identify this as a content by search web part or a content search web part. But if you didn't know that, if somebody had given you a web part definition and you were curious as to whether or not it was using the content search web part under the hood, you could go into the properties for it. So I'm going to use this CBS underscore pictures web part as a starting point. We're going to determine definitively if that is a content by search web part pre-configured instance. So I went to the properties and I go into the web part gallery. I can see, name, title, description, things that are pretty standard for web parts. Up here in the toolbar, I have View XML. And what I can do is basically create an XML serialized instance of that web part. It's kind of basically an export. I'm going to go ahead and save, open my folder. And in my download section, I have this CBS_pictures web part. If I right click on that and open it in an editor, I get, of course, a bunch of XML. Don't worry if you don't know XML, that's fine. But what I'm most interested in up here in the metadata tag under web part, the type. So this is the .NET assembly or definition as referenced within a .NET assembly. Microsoft Office Server Search Web Controls, content by search web part. Anything that is a content search web part is going to be derived from this particular type. So if you see this referenced in a web part definition or export, that's how you know that the content search web part is actually the underlying implementation that's being employed for the web part you're using. Maybe it's just a pre-configured instance where somebody had built a bunch of additional templates and value add on top of a web part, the content search web part for you to use. But if it says content by search web part and it's within this type, that's how you identify that it's a content search web part. And thus concludes this demo. Hope you'll hop over to demo number 2, plain old search results with the content search web part. Thank you.